I've got information too.
Okay.
Got the same stuff we had the other meeting?
Yes.
AOCs.
Oh,
Do we have those around? Does it say this is back here? From Dr. Hayden?
Yeah, I've got all kinds of things too. Tell me what you got, and whatever you don't have, I'll pass out the other.
Pass those around, that'd be great. A few more. Thank you. Right.
I got the other ones, and are you gonna go over this part?
I can. I've not seen this, but I can speak from it.
Okay.
So I'm going to show this out.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you so much for letting me come speak to you tonight. Obviously, something that's very passionate about what I want to do. People say to me, I had a United Way survey site visit 3 weeks ago. And at the end, she goes, what keeps you awake at night? I said, you know what keeps me awake at night? Wondering how many people are not going to be safe tomorrow morning because they died of opiate addiction. It's a real problem. And unfortunately, Jefferson County is second in the state. What you have is this handout here. I want to go over first, which comes from the Jefferson County Drug Task Force. Do you know that the state of Missouri is the only state in all 50 states that does not have a drug prescription monitoring program? And when you go, I've been to 2 national conferences, and Missouri is the laughing stock, and we are ridiculed because we do not have one. We've attempted to get it passed multiple times in Jefferson City, but there is one position in the Senate that is very vocal and has blocked it each time. So we're tired of seeing our young people die, and so St. Louis County and St. Louis City have passed ordinances that they now have a drug prescription monitoring program. And they're asking other counties to join at minimal cost. But let me talk a little bit about why this is so important. If you look from 2002 to 2012, the incidence of heroin initiation was 19 times higher among those who reported a prior non-medical pain reliever use among those who did not. Prescription drugs are the gateway to heroin addiction. In the young, intravenous drug abuse from 2008 to 2009, 86% had used opiate pain relievers non-medically prior to progressing to heroin. And this is a shift from previous. Before the 1990s, most people used heroin as their first opiate of abuse as opposed to prescription drugs. As you see now, the shifting of opiate use is towards an older, less minority, more rural suburban population. Heroin use is driven by its low cost and high availability, and studies suggest that people transitioning from the use of prescription opiates to heroin cite that heroin is cheaper, more available, and provides a better high. Plus, they can go through sniffing or smoking heroin before injecting. And 94% of people in opiate addiction treatment said that they choose to use heroin because prescription opiates are far more expensive and harder to obtain. If you look at page 2, you'll see 3 color graphs. And this is the statistic that keeps me up. More people die from heroin than violent crime in the St. Louis region. And you can see that the heroin deaths is in blue. And you can just see how the crime has gone up. You can also see in the middle how the sales of prescription painkiller sales and deaths have gone up. And prescription drug use causes more deaths each year than heroin. It is a real problem. So if we look here in the St. Louis region, page 3, there were 1,520 heroin-related deaths in Missouri from 2008 to 2014. 78% of those, or 1,190, were among residents of St. Louis City, County, St. Charles, and Jefferson County. And no other county had more than 30 heroin-involved deaths in this time period. So if you look at this bottom, this shows you in the graph what are the number of deaths per county. And if you look at Jefferson County, we're averaging 9.9 deaths per 100,000, making us second. The only one that outpaces us is St. Louis City at 15.9. So there's no getting away from it. Prescription drug and opiate addiction is a crisis, and it's also the gateway to heroin addiction. So what has happened, St. Louis County and St. Louis City have been working on this. In the handout here, you can see we actually had a fairly in-depth meeting with them back in August. And what they've done is they're not going to wait for the state to pass. We're predicting that the earliest we may get any change at the state level is another 3 years until the opposition cycles out. 3 years is too far to wait. And here's the other thing. St. Louis City and St. Louis County have already passed their ordinances, and I believe it goes live October 1. So if they can't get their prescription drugs in St. Louis City and St. Louis County, where do you think they're going to come?
Right to Tony's house.
Jefferson County and St. Charles County. St. Charles County was on the news, if you saw it last week. They're a little bit further along. We need to get an ordinance passed here in Jefferson County to use the drug prescription monitoring program. And we get to do it fairly cheap. So here's what's happening. St. Louis County and St. Louis City have been working on this jointly for the last 6 months. They've looked at all the different vendors. We're going to go with a vendor by the name of Acrease. They've already paid all of the monies for it. So for us, the cost for us to join as a county is around $2,500. They paid the upfront fee. They paid the $78,000. Okay. They've also paid the other fees of $118,000. So they are so serious about wanting to eliminate this as a problem. They paid those upfront costs, and other counties get to latch into the program. And basically, we pay a fee per pharmacy, a fee per provider. The cost would be somewhere around $2,500. Okay. So what would happen is when we are part of the program, the administrative agent, each county has to appoint an administrative agent, and the administrative agent will be the Department of Public Health. So that would be Jefferson County Public Health. So all of our data goes into the database of Acrease, and then all of the reports come out to our administrative agent, which is the Department of Health, and then they would forward those reports. Who are required to enter the information is the pharmacists. Okay. The physicians and prescribers can only query. It's not mandatory, but we're going to really encourage that before a prescriber prescribes a drug, an opiate, a painkiller, that they go into the registry to see if this is a drug seeker. Because what happens currently in Comtree, we have 800 clients at one point that have used opiate addiction. Okay? And what they do is they hop from physician, they hop to the ER looking for drugs. And here's the concern. So let's say a patient goes to, they go up to St. Anthony's and they tell their story and they get an opiate drug prescription. You know how much those pills sell for on the street? They sell for $6.50 a pill. So a prescription bottle will give them $450. So they either get the prescription to make money, or they do it to get it for their addiction. So then they could go down to Mercy Jefferson, tell the same story, and what does the physician do? What does he do? He writes a prescription, because they have no way of going into a database to see where has that person been. There's no tracking. With a prescription drug program, it would allow the prescriber to go in and check. More importantly, go to fill the prescription, the pharmacist can immediately tell that this person is a drug seeker, they went to this doctor, they've been to this doctor, they've been to this ER, and they have a drug addiction. Opiates are out of control, and that is the absolute window into heroin addiction. So really kind of the next steps are that we want to get this passed in Jefferson County. So we're having to, the county can approve it, and that will work for all of the unincorporated, but each of the incorporated cities will need to pass will have to pass the local ordinance to participate in the program.
An ordinance or like a resolution?
A resolution. We're looking for a resolution. What else can I tell you about this? The reason it's so important is right now, drug seekers are going to find it. They're not going to be able to get it in St. Louis County. They're not going to get it in St. Louis City. They're not going to get it in St. Charles. They're going to come to Jefferson County. And unless we can get on the same program and have access to the same database, that we can eliminate that. The other thing that's really important, I think it really opens up the communication between providers and treatment so that we can start identifying where the drug seekers are. What else can I tell you on this?
If I might, kind of like a sample resolution in here. Yeah, that's what Tony Becker kind of spearheaded this a little bit. And Marv and I, we went to the meeting with the cities. Ladies, there was 3 ladies, they spoke for 45 minutes, and they had questions, good questions, everything else too. We got to do this to push the county to get this taken care of, and that's what they're looking for, all the cities. And like Perky, they said, well, we don't have any pharmacies, but we can still, or Kimmswick, they don't have any pharmacies, but we can still pass a resolution on everything else. And so I know Arnold's working on it, Crystal City's working on it, and if we could possibly do something like that, that's why I wanted to bring Sue so she can speak, and Marvin and I already understood what was going on, and this way that you individuals can.
Didn't Arnold pass the resolution on September 15th?
No, there was a little bit of a situation up that way.
Okay.
So they got their, taking to a workshop like they should have done, and that's what I and Marvin decided to do, to educate our council people before we do anything.
You know, we got a call, you know, because we treat drug addiction. We actually got a call for a 6-year-old that's addicted to heroin. And, you know, it's not uncommon for the police or the medics that they deal with 6 heroin overdoses a night.
My question, if you pass this in Jefferson County, it's a $1 thing, are the pharmacists required to check this database?
Yes.
They are required.
The pharmacists are required. Providers, prescribers are not. It's highly encouraged. So we will be doing a mass campaign to educate the prescribers to participate. But regardless of where that prescription is written, it's got to be filled at a pharmacy. That's where we can stop it. And the pharmacy board nationally is in favor of this. And they provide the linkage across states to track.
Yeah, you can't go one state to the other state.
You can't go one state to another.
When I buy my drugs, okay, the provider, okay, checks to make sure that I haven't got any more than 30 days. They have a financial incentive to make sure that it's not going. What percentage are this? They could answer for that portion of it. How many people get these drugs that aren't on?
Like the black market?
Well, other than through a prescription.
Well, currently most of them are getting the drugs from their doctors or from hospitals. They shop doctors and they shop ER rooms.
So they don't have a drug plan. I'm sure
Yeah.
they-
Insurance, when you're trying to say insurance?
Yeah, they may, but
Yeah.
the problem is because we don't have the ability to see what is the utilization of drugs prescribed across users, we have no way of knowing. And,
I'm sure they're not probably going through their insurance plan?
Well,
Because this is a profitable art,
Yeah.
that's the reason.
and some of them may not necessarily have a drug plan, but they may pay out of pocket, they may be charity, they may be, Medicaid, we don't know. But the problem is, they can say, I don't have the money, but the biggest issue why we have to address it is today, there is no way to track how many prescriptions have been filled for a person. And we are now supporting the opiate, the drugs, and those are the number one entry into heroin.
I ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
One, what happens once the information gets from the pharmacist? Where's it go?
So it goes into a PREAS, which is the database, and then reports are queried. So what's really cool is any physician and any pharmacy can go in and query the reports so they can see what's happening. And then those reports are sent to the agent, which is Department of Mental Health. And then there might be a group at the Department of Mental Health that looks at that, and then they can follow up where there are pharmacies maybe or physicians prescribing excess number. So the very fact that, let's say, a person comes in and they check the database and it shows that they just had a prescription filled 2 days ago, they're not going to fill it because that's drug seeking. They're going to see that they've already had that, so they're not going to be able to fill that. But then where they can use some of the information is they can look at the prescribing patterns of physicians. When I used to work over at St. Anthony's in Alton, there was a physician, and we knew something was going on because you drive by at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he had a line of people out the door wrapped around.
Over medicated.
Well, what he was doing is he was just writing all of
Yeah,
these.
he's insurance.
Yeah, and so he was actually arrested. He's now in jail. He's serving
Well,
time.
I guess my question is this, does
Privacy.
it stop the user at the point of the pharmacy?
Yes, it does two things.
Under what auspices is the pharmacy able to say, oh, we've got a valid prescription from a physician, we're not gonna
Well,
honor it?
what they can do is they will see that that person got that same prescription filled for a 30-day supply 2 days ago.
Okay? But
So-
they still have a prescription from a physician.
Right, so then what they could do is they could also then call that physician and would say, so-and-so just presented here, we have a prescription. Were you aware that they got that same prescription filled 2 days ago at this other site? So they will have the authority not to fill because, there's been a valid prescription within the same time period. And then what they will be using that data, that information from those reports will be made available to all of the pharmacies, and it's also been available to the prescribers. Then they also will be able to utilize and improve, the system, make sure we have better quality, and they will look at overall trends because there may be some physicians that are over-prescribing, and then those become issues that can be followed up
How
on.
does this play with HIPAA?
It's completely compliant.
Okay.
They talked about this because that was one of the concerns, but, when you go to a pharmacy, they're going to, your drug plan can kind of track.
Sure.
Yeah. And
It's
it,
been 3 days.
yeah, and it's under quality, so again, they're going to be able to track the user and.
So does that mean that individual user data goes from the doctor, I guess the doctors are not mandatory reported, the pharmacies, whatever doctors choose to get involved in this, to the state agency, and there's no potential violation of HIPAA in that
Correct.
process?
And if you want, I can get you, because that has been one of the concerns, and it's completely HIPAA compliant. I mean, because the fact that you have a drug monitoring program in 49 other states.
Yes.
Yeah. And I apologize,
You don't know me, but 49
yeah.
other states doesn't impress me. 49 other people doing it wrong may be the problem. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, and I will get that information to you.
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you give her your business cards?
Absolutely.
Because there's actually 4 of us, and I'm the only one that can be present tonight, so.
Right. They come as a team.
No, and we don't regularly come, but we recognize the issue.
Yeah, and so I will get that information, but issue's gonna be that really it's gonna be tracking the prescribers, and it's really more of a tool to educate the prescriber and the pharmacist of who not to give a prescription to. Because they're drug seeking and you can see, so, you know, if this person comes in, they can look them up in the database and they can see that, you know, they've been here, here, and here, and they know not to prescribe it. Because where there has been some resistance has been, you know, because the drug companies, it's profitable for them. And, you
It's
know.
the way lobbying states to say, hey,
I
don't
wish they
do
would
this.
do this across the board, call them, so not just opioids.
It
I
would
have
be-
to
it'd be
remember
class
that
two-
it was
class
on
two and class
30
three drugs.
common pills, taking 63 pills a day, because this cardiologist didn't know what this doctor was giving her, and
That was the other question.
Yeah,
Was-
it's-
Is it tracking more than opioids?
No, it's class 2 and class 3.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's why you have to.
it's crazy. And, you know,
carry a list of them if you're ever.
Well, you're right.
You have to be a steward of your own medications too, because doctors don't.
No, they don't, and it's like Sue's saying, is this way, at least on this, in class 2 and 3, they can take care of that. And that might be starting later on down the road, like you're saying,
It would be.
but that's the thing is too, is that, you know, I want to bring her here to explain to everybody, so if we could do a resolution possibly to send to the county and everything else too, to get that going.
So what
I
kind
think
of
we're too far
timeframe are
behind.
you looking with, like Jefferson County involved,
we
municipalities past
would
this?
love to get this passed by November.
And will that happen at the county level? No, it's already been, Tony's already talked to them, said they're not doing anything until after February.
After the election?
After the election.
Yeah.
But,
That makes perfect sense.
you know,
Yeah.
the city of St. Louis has invested, there's $15,000 setup fee, there's another $65,000, so they've invested like $80,000. And they're not asking for any of that from us. They're, you know, so it's gonna cost us somewhere around $2,500, and I believe the county's looking at paying
Paying
that.
for that, that's, was, we
Yeah,
talked about, that would be part of the resolution where the county would take care of that cost.
If these other counties don't pass it, it doesn't help the city or the county, St. Louis County at all, because they're just gonna come here, or Washington, or somewhere
Well,
else.
it's already enacted in St. Louis
Well,
County,
what I
St.
mean,
Louis
it
City.
doesn't help them, their less drug abuse, if the other surrounding counties
Because they're
Don't
coming
get
here.
Well, here's what we're looking at. Our goal is to get 10 counties. We want to get a 10-county region that will pass this resolution and can, you know, tap into REACE. That's a fairly large, extensive region that we can make an impact.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then the other, you know, one of the other questions that came up, so let's say in 3 years this gets passed at the state level. Do we have to stop what we're doing and join the state? We don't have to. If the state system is not as good as what we'll have through a freeze, then we can stay with a freeze. Okay, but it's truly, it will connect across states also.
What is the holdup in the state of Missouri?
Senator Schaaf,
There is and he's a physician, right?
yes.
He is a physician in the Senate. He is the only one that has blocked this, time and time again.
Filibuster?
Huh? Yeah,
What's the basis of this, the basis of this?
like, she's a doctor, and he was with the privacy or something like that?
No, he feels that doctors should be able to prescribe without having any type
Yeah,
of
that's-
oversight. But, I mean, we all see the drug deaths. I mean, I can tell you, I mean, we have dealt with 4 opiate heroin overdoses, got them early enough that everyone survived. But that doesn't happen to many. You all see it in the paper. So for him, how many people have died
Look at him.
because he keeps this? I mean, there's anger at the state level. The state associations, the Missouri Coalition for Behavioral Health, the Missouri Primary Care Association, I mean, they want this passed. And I'll tell you why. Here, this is a true story. So this was up at SLU. Patient presented to ER, severe pain, and they are wanting a narcotic. They're wanting a class 2 drug. And the physician is stuck because he has a patient that's clinically presenting, but he does not know what is that patient doing outside of that ER visit. So if he prescribes a drug and the patient ends up dying, guess who's liable? The physician. Because he prescribed a drug. And so the physicians are asking for this, the ER rooms are asking for this because they don't have any access today to check out the validity of that person presenting to ER. Are they truly drug seeking? And here in Jefferson County, the number of people presenting to ER, 25% of them are presenting because of toothache, dental pain. And they don't take out your teeth. What do? They prescribe you a narcotic and they prescribe you an antibiotic. And the problem continues. And so, I mean, it's crazy. But, you know, we know for a fact that the number one door to heroin addiction is prescription drug abuse.
So if we can, if Sue can get that to you.
I've already got a copy of the one that you got. I was asking for informational purposes only.
Okay.
Because I'm interested in the interplay between the HIPAA requirements and the.
And I will get that to you tomorrow.
Yeah, that's okay.
Then if we could possibly do something the next meeting, if that's.
So I would love to get a resolution because we are committed to get this in place. And this is actually a joint effort. It is Comtree, it is the Jefferson County Health Department, Mercy Jefferson, Eric Emmons, is the president there, and also Pride has joined, Linda Hargrave with Pride. So we want to get the word out. It's the right thing to do.
We appreciate everything. I think it's an eye-opener to all of us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
You're welcome. Great, thank you. I'll keep mine too, and I'll make sure I get that to you. Appreciate it.
Guys all free?
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm fine.
Okay, neighborhood watch.
I'm fine.
Johnny? Neighborhood watch. So you got with Mr.
Or,
Okay. And you've given him some signs now. From my understanding, this is a more so something that the community would do. We just would back it.
The Neighborhood Watch program is nothing that is, I hate to say affiliated with the police department, it's not. It's not sponsored by, it's not affiliated with. It's just a program where neighborhood gets together and forms their own watch committee. And there's time to time that the police department will participate in neighborhood watch meetings and give them safety tips, like don't plant city bushes in front of your windows and just simple things that go along with that. But that is up to the individual communities to start their own program.
So what I'm thinking is to have a special meeting here at City Hall for Neighborhood Watch. Anybody that would like to come down and voice their opinions to us as board members, not an officiated meeting where we're voting on anything, but just to hear some concerns maybe from some of the residents, just specifically for Neighborhood Watch. And if it's something that they would like to start in our community, either be a ward or subdivision or however, you know, we can get some ideas flowing through the public. That's kind of what I was thinking. Especially with the holidays coming, things going on already in town, something to start pushing for, I think. So I just wanted to see if, you know, that was okay with everybody. I would like to look at a couple Wednesday nights and maybe, you know, toss out 2 or 3 nights to the public. And, you know, they may not be able to make it to one, but maybe to another or something, and not everybody has to come, or everybody can come, and maybe, you know, we can get majority of us here or whatnot. But, I would like to do that and set some of those dates at the next meeting.
Sounds
If
good.
that sounds okay with everybody.
Fine.
Is Wednesdays okay with
I was gonna say, are
everybody?
you sure you want to do it on Wednesday?
Well, I'm just thinking middle of the week, but we could do like Thursday or Tuesday. Oh, we have court, and we have church on the.
So Thursday's fine.
So Tuesdays or Thursdays, Fridays are out for me, Mondays are good for me. So,
No, you talking-
Tuesdays or Thursdays okay? I can do one on a Tuesday and one on a Thursday?
Yeah, well, I was going to the first Tuesday or the second Tuesday's March, isn't it? First Tuesday's P and Z.
I'm
part of me? I don't know.
Well, Mayor, you talking about having meetings, just informational meetings to let communities know how
To get
basically
the
to get started.
community involved and
on-
start getting something started.
We're not associated.
So we kind of, would you and Tony kind of put an agenda together a little bit? So you
Yeah.
The agenda would be, everyone watch. How to get it started, what do we do, you know?
Yeah, we
I'd
have-
like to be
okay.
more of an involvement meeting, not something that we're just.
Sponsor.
Yeah, I want to get ideas, more of a workshop with the, community, not, town hall meeting.
So you'd be branching off from the official Neighborhood Watch program, because we have very limited resources we can't pass out and talk about, but that takes, with it being a separate entity from the actual city and the police department, it takes a big hit on our PR budget, because it's basically a separate company. So, we could provide limited resources to them, but as far as like actually being able to provide them signs, that's something that the actual Neighborhood Watch Committee typically gets together
Yeah, well,
on their
maybe
own.
just give somebody a template.
But we can get them started, we can
Give
wind them
them a
up and
template.
aim them
Yeah.
this way and.
Right,
Is there
let's
any
get it going,
grants?
like I said, whether, if we can get a group per ward or, a group per subdivision, whatever we can start with and build from there.
Maybe,
Let's get something
and-
started.
Jesse, look into seeing how much 15 signs cost.
Yeah.
Uh,
Something.
Because
Let's
we
just
used to
get
put
something.
them like on the stop signs or the speed limit signs because
Said neighborhood watch.
Yeah, there's
right,
one out there.
we had it, and it's completely faded out. It's right by the corner of the cemetery.
Does
It's
Mr.
been
Moore
up
get his
since
up?
the 90s, yeah.
Did he get it?
It's up, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're on that, shoot for a Tuesday and a Thursday in like November, does that sound good to
Sounds great.
everybody? Okay, maybe October, November, something, figure it out. All right, anything else anybody else has? I have one other thing before I go.
Did you
Okay.
really talk to me about the Bright Futures?
Yes.
In a meeting today, I had a little more information on the Bright Futures. It is to help students in the school district. It will be, if we see a student that maybe their shoes are worn out, or their clothes are 2 sizes too small, or way too big, it's our job as teachers, or bus drivers, or cooks, to get a hold of the counselors or anyone on our board and say, hey, this person needs some help, and get them what they need. That way, they're not going to be isolated in any way, picked on in any way, and help them out. That way, they're gonna wake up feeling like, I've got what I need, I'm ready to go to school, ready to learn. They are asking for 1 member from our board, I think 1 member from the Herky board. It's also coming in from the faith-based, businesses, human services, and parents. So it's across the board, across the community. They're getting everyone involved. There will be someone that would be willing to come and speak to you guys and tell you about the whole program. They're just starting to give us bits and pieces on how it's going to work, so.
This is what, Tony and I said in the police report from Monday night that I had asked for some more information, and in the meeting brought us some good information. It's something that I would really like to see us pushing some of our businesses and aldermen. You know what, if we have one business that, could donate clothing for, 3 different sizes, or, whatever it is we can figure out and start. We're always looking and we're always talking, we're always suggesting everything and stuff, but we're never doing anything. So we need to start getting some of these things going. I told Wendy that I will gladly start going to the meetings and see if we can get them to present something to the board also. But you look at all these things that all these other communities have, in a positive light, what do we have? Everything that's brought to us is 9 times out of 10, something negative. So why can't we start bringing something positive to the community?
Further on the list, if there's a list of people that need to be contacted.
Okay.
So that's what we need, more of that.
Wendy, also too, is when you pick somebody out that needs help, do you do that,
Quietly.
Right.
Absolutely,
Yes.
Okay.
absolutely. I've already done it with one of my students,
Okay.
and, oh my gosh, hugs were out the wazoo,
Yeah,
so
'cause-
happy.
You know, you say that, Pat and I talked about that just the other day about helping some kids, you know, and everything else too, because we don't have kids and everything else too, so we thought that we would like possibly to help somebody during Christmas, so if you can give us a name or something like that that really needs some help,
I can absolutely get you.
okay, that would work out.
So that'll be kind of like a secondary thing that I wanna push for.
Okay, so I apologize, is she volunteering to do this then? We need-
This information will be.
There's our board, there's our liaison.
At this time, I was gonna tease her into it.
Do it if you like.
I think you're well suited for it.
You're in the trenches, so you'll know.
Let us know. Anybody else?
On that same aspect, the PVP is officially part of the Shop the Cop program now. We had our first meeting yesterday. The second meeting is going to be December 1st, and it's kind of along the same lines of what Ms. Arnold was talking about. We're going to join with Festus Crystal City and DeSoto, seek donations, monetary or items from like Dunn's and Dollar General, and the teachers and staff in the school district will be the ones nominating children to participate in the Shop the Cop program. So we got the ball rolling on that yesterday.
Cool.
A lot of good positive things.
I got one thing is, you know, we talked the other night on tax and everything else too. There's not a person here that does not want to give taxes back and everything else and cut taxes. But the thing is we talked the other night for a $200,000 home. Last year they paid they paid $334.70, okay? You take the $200,000 times 19%, divide by 100, that gave you the number 0.8808. That equals $334.07. This time, it was going up to 0.8877. Take the 200,000 times 19%, divide by 100, that's what number you get. And it was $337.33. That's $2.63 of grandstanding on everything else. You know, to me, that's crazy. It's only $2.63 for a year, and that's it.
20 cents a month?
Huh?
20 cents a month?
Yeah, so why even worry about that sort of stuff and everything else too? So, you know, I can't understand, you know, somebody grandstand on something like that, so.
My thought is, my thought is, I voted for the tax increase for the school. Me and my wife both, we believe, our kids went through the school district. We believe we need good schools. And as a city, we need good schools to attract residents. But this raise is not gonna affect how I voted next time. And I don't think the people that voted no are, well, if Peabody doesn't raise their taxes for a couple cents, I'm gonna change my mind and vote yes. I think that's very naive. These people are going out voting no constantly. And it's not the fact that we don't have the people that agree with us, it's the fact of getting them to the polls. That's the big thing.
I think we lost it by very minimal votes.
Because there's people saying, yeah, I'd vote for it. Did you go? Well, no, I didn't go down there and vote. And that happens constantly. Dunklin School District, Dunklin Fire District. And there were some people that would vote no only because they didn't like the leadership. There's another thing. So us raising is not going to change all these people's minds to go vote for it. Yes, for the Dunklin School District. That's naive.
Okay. The perception of what you're getting for your value, okay? That's what I'm trying to go with. The $2.30, actually, on my house, I would save $84. On my personal property, I would save $10 if I lived in Festus.
How about this?
No, you're apples and oranges.
I'm saying your rates that they're
Versus
charging
Festus.
and the rates that we're charging.
And you know what?
And that's a fair comparison, isn't it?
Sure. If we-
Move to Festus.
Huh?
Let's move to Festus.
But you have,
Oh, if I do that, I would pay 30 cents more.
But you have-
All right.
what you have to look at, the reason the tax rate is the number of businesses Festus has
Correct.
as compared to us. They have Lowe's, Home Depot, Apple, Walmart.
Crystal City has the other half.
Yeah, Shop and Save.
And you know what?
Snooks.
That's sales tax. We're talking real
But
estate.
that.
No.
That's the reason that
Sales tax, I can go.
Real estate, no.
we don't have the real estate, we don't.
Here,
Can't put real estate.
read this article.
Oh,
see
but
it's all
when it says that
Yes.
they're playing-
Yes.
I read the article.
Then you understand what it says. As he said here, the sales tax, that's why they're getting rid of that.
And they pay, and those buildings pay real estate tax. They pay a ton of real estate tax in those buildings.
And we pay
You know what?
30% more in,
You're-
30% more in.
I'm sorry.
Than they do in Festus.
I'm sorry, your thinking is what caused this city to be the way it is now. That's why our exit looks worse than any of them, even the unincorporated. You get off at Barnhart, you've got a Walgreens, a nice grocery store. You get off at Imperial, you have 2 restaurants, a great strip mall. Because of thinking that almost bankrupted the city. Let's keep cutting taxes, let's keep doing it. We finally changed things. We start moving forward, we're gonna move highways forward, we'll get the retail tax in, and then we can start thinking about it. It was thinking like yours has cut Peabody the way it is right now. Okay? It almost bankrupted the city before.
Well, there's 2 ways of doing this. You don't have to bankrupt the city.
It
You
almost
can cut
is.
spending. You don't have to increase taxes, you can cut spending.
Tell me where to cut it.
Huh?
Where?
Police department.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know what it
Give
is.
away funds too, would you?
Okay, let's take the heat out of it. I understand what
Sure.
everybody's saying. Unfortunately, we're all gonna have to agree to disagree, and it's gonna be the ring of knowledge. Who can learn what it actually is in the history of the city is where we're at.
Okay, you got something yet?
I do. I have one other thing. I hear people at every board meeting, the people in the crowd that tell us we're not spending our funds properly. I mean, we hear it constantly. We're not spending the money out of the right funds. We're not doing what we're supposed to do with money. Well, Mr. Jeffers wants to give money back to the water, to the residents of the water because there's extra money there. I have a big issue with this. The money that we're in the hole for to pay back on this NID was used for water and sewer infrastructure. Whatever money we need to use to pay back that NID needs to come from water and sewer from this point forward. That money is there for the water and sewer infrastructure. We need to quit taking the money out of the general fund.
But that is only
But
water
they
and
don't-
sewer, but not
Yes, it's
water.
very legal. We're paying back for what we used it for. It's very legal.
They
Don was talking, hold on, go ahead, Don.
No, what I'm saying, you're talking about the portion that was for water and sewer, not the portion for the streets and storm sewer.
Whatever.
So it'd be like 25% of the NID from each of those, since there's 4 parts.
Why do we keep taking the money out of the general fund, and then when people are wanting things that we could be doing for them, but we're using the money out of the general fund to cover the NID, when those funds should be coming out of water and sewer? For years, they should have been coming out of water and sewer, not the general fund.
Well,
That money was used by those funds should replenish it.
But, there was a thing on Facebook about a particular person, person said that they got the water towers cleaned and everything. But those things wouldn't have been cleaned unless the water and sewer rates would have been raised. Now, that would have been done. Number 2 is, while we raised gross receipts, we were going bankrupt. Terry Thomas found 2 areas that we were not collecting. That is the money we have, and our accountant just said, not our accountant, the auditor said, keep doing what you're doing. Don't go back.
I agree.
And the auditor said the same thing.
Yeah.
And I talked to him personally, he said, you guys are starting to move forward, you're doing things right, things are looking good, you need those 6 months, at least 6 months.
I don't like paying taxes on anybody more, and I pay a ton of taxes. I mean, a ton. I don't complain. I consider that part of business, and I want a nice city for people to raise their kids in, a nice police department. I have nothing but the utmost respect for the police department. They have always been there. I've been here almost 40 years, and I cannot say how many times I have been helped out by them. Not only them, the city workers. You couldn't ask for better. People down here, not just your ears, but no, they are very accommodating.
Yes, and he's talking about, how many years did you guys go without a raise?
7 years.
Right.
6
And
or
wasn't
7
there
years.
was a certain amount of time, they couldn't even pay your insurance?
I remember they used to have to
I
rush
don't
to
wanna
the
see that
bank,
ever happen.
rush to the bank to cash your paychecks down here. You put the money in, and then you go down the same day, cash your paycheck. And this is all true. This is the history of Pele. Knoblauch did nothing but keep things so low that we were just
Yeah, you
destroyed.
gotta pat it back. I didn't get the water, your water rates.
Right, vote for me.
Well, back to where I was with the water and sewer.
Well, I don't know about what the accountant says.
I asked Greg, and he said it is absolutely legal, and it should have been done over the course of all these years of repair.
We can't go back, but let's not
So
do
he
it.
is going to, get us the numbers together, percentage wise, what was utilized for the water and sewer. Those funds can be taken out of there.
Yeah.
Why should we keep depleting the general fund when that money was spent for water and sewer? Should have been done all these years before, and it wasn't.
Well, because
So-
they're spending water and sewer, they're spending water and sewer money
Exactly.
to
Pay everything else.
pay the city's bills with, which was completely illegal. Until Steve and I, and Russ got that on there, and we put everything in the reserve accounts like you're supposed to, or restricted accounts.
And something you might want to think about too is the office over that way, that is what, water and sewer? You can possibly have that office charge off on, for the rent for water and sewer.
I just think that, we get condemned daily for not utilizing our funds
Sure we
properly.
do.
That's a major hit to our general fund, and
Right.
it's something that we definitely need to be looking at,
Yeah.
and it needs to be corrected. The things that people are asking us to be able to provide for them, honestly, we can, if we were utilizing the funds properly, and that's one way to alleviate a big stress on our budget for this end of this year and into the next year. So, that's all I got.
One thing,
Nothing else?
Dan Drury, I texted him, he's in California, he said when he gets back, he said we need to eat together,
Good.
Great.
so,
Yeah, maybe get the thing rolling in.
yeah.
All right, so several more meetings coming for community events. Halloween, just to recap, meeting at 1 o'clock on the 22nd. So start thinking of your trunk ideas and anything that you'd like to partake in. And he's got some stuff to get to us for.
By tomorrow.
I'm just so glad that the camera's at my back. You can just smile at the.
Yeah, I'll smile, I'll smile the whole time if you want, you just go, come on, man.
We need to pick up
Yeah.
the tables.
I was gonna say,